Hi, how's it going? Welcome back. My name is Brian Forsyth, and you are about to learn the Sunshine Samurai method. And it might be weird to, why am I using the samurai as, part of my method? And the reason why is because even though the samurai kind of, they were warriors and they were, defenders of territory and all these different things, they were also considered kind of like knights during their time. Were really very altruistic, and so the principles that they talked about really dealt with how to be a good human. And I think it's important when we're working towards, beating something, living with something as challenging as depression. It's important to sort of build our life, our processes on something that is time tested, is strong. And so with that said, the first attribute we're going to talk about, courage. And I think it's a good one to start out to begin with, because when you're dealing with depression, it's a fight. And so you're going to need courage. You're going to need the courage to stand up for who you want to be, who you are now, the value of who you are now. You're going to need courage, because the truth is that to a greater or lesser degree, depending on which day you're talking about, the fight, just the human fight, the fight for survival, whatever that looks like, is real. And then when you add, depression on top of that, it's even harder. So every day you're going to need courage. And on the days when, depression is a lot more challenging, you're going to need more courage. So I think it's important for us to start with courage and taking that on and agreeing that we're going to live in courage. We're going to live encouraged, because that is what it takes. Courage. The next is truthfulness. And in talking about truthfulness, I'm talking about asking whether or not what you're hearing in what I call the mental garden, our mind, asking whether or not what you're hearing is true. Being able to step back and look at the thought, the one that says you're crap, that you've never done anything good, that everything is your fault, that, you're better off dead, God forbid, but that's one of the things that we deal with, or could deal with. To look at that thought and say, is that true? Because if we can look at that and we can say whether or not that's true, then that's powerful. That allows us to not get pulled into, these false logic chains that end up in this swirling depression. So truthfulness, being able to step back and ask, is that true? Is my mind, telling me the truth? Or is that something, a thought, a feeling that can't be trusted. Because the truth is, even if you're not dealing with depression, the mind will deceive you. Your thoughts are simply thoughts. And just because you have a thought doesn't make it true. It doesn't even make it valid or useful. So, truthfulness. The next we're going to talk about is compassion. I think compassion is one of the most important of the principles that we're going to talk about. Because if you can just start with compassion for yourself, then a lot of the lies that depression will trick you with and beat you up with, won't work. Because if you're having compassion for yourself, then it's much harder for you to believe the lie that you are just a waste of space and should die. Because if you're compassionate, then you're gentle with yourself. You're understanding of yourself. So you're not going to fall into the trap that depression can set. Compassion can save you. Because let's face it, depression is not compassionate. So it's easy to see if you start with compassion and then you hear the thought from depression, it's easy to see which one's the false, which one's the not useful. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about throughout this little 6 CD mini course, is whether or not a thought is useful. I know, many people think that if they have a thought, then it's theirs, and naturally it's there for a purpose. But that's not necessarily true. I don't believe that's true. It's not been my experience that that's true. And I think if you think about, your history, you'll see that there are multiple instances where it's not true for you. It hasn't been true for you. And that brings me to honor. Honor is, as you probably know, pretty important for the Japanese and obviously for the samurai. Honor is it's all about how all of these things come together to make the full person, to be an honorable person. Because I think if you see yourself as honorable, the very first thought in your day, I am an honorable person. I am honorable. I will honor myself. I will honor my feelings and my emotions, and I will honor me. If you start there in your day and go through your day seeing yourself as an honorable person, then again, it's a lot harder for depression to trick you into being something other than honorable, into seeing yourself as a worthless whatever. And it's harder to be tricked into thinking that you have no value, because we know what honorable people do, what honorable people are. People like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. Obviously, these are U.S. figures, but Winston Churchill, one of the most honorable men that's ever lived. When you have this decision whether or not the action that you're feeling like you should take, or the thought that's coming in, and you're trying to figure out whether or not it's worth paying attention to, ask, is it honorable? Would it be honorable? Is it something that an honorable person would say or think? Now, I'm not saying that it's possible to keep yourself from thinking the thought. I'm saying that if you're acting honorably and feeling honorable, is that a thought that would fit that type of person? And if it isn't, discard it. Say thank you. Not today. Write it down. Later in this little mini course, I'm going to talk about writing your thoughts down and how powerful that is. But take these 5 characteristics: courage, truthfulness, compassion, honor. Take these on and do your best to live them. And it'll be much harder for you to be tricked by depression into falling into some dark places that it would like to trick you into being. I'll see you on the next video.